Happy today. I am William Brown from IamWilliamBrown.com. This is Disconnect to Connect One Word Conversations. One Word Conversations is brought to you by I Am William Brown, a place where you can be yourself and live your life. Just go to IamWilliamBrown.com and look at some items or schedule a time for a complimentary coaching session. I want to see how you can be yourself. One way that I highlight what is available there is by spotlighting our U cards. And our U cards are intention setting cards and a game. And so to set the intention for this conversation, my I am card is I am purpose. My you are card is you are seen. And my quote card is there is no one youer than you. I guess every time I hear that, it reminds me to, to show up, and that's always fun. So, with that in mind, I am going to introduce our word. You know what? Before I did put the word up and everything like that, my coach has been telling me that I need to invite people to share and like and subscribe. And I hardly ever do that because I never want to do that. I just want people to just enjoy that. So I got that out of the way so I can check that off. So now I will introduce the word bliss. And this was an interesting word for me because it's a word that I don't use often, but I feel like it's needed, or I want to understand it more. So this will be an interesting conversation to see how and what comes up within it. So with that in mind, I am going to bring up my guests, and we are going to have a conversation.
Hello.
Good morning. Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
I am doing wonderful. This is the moment where I invite my guests to introduce themselves however it feels comfortable to them.
All right. So I go by Andrea Rose. I am a writer, yoga teacher, bird watcher, or birder, as we like to be known. And yeah. That's my main highlights.
That's the main highlights. Those are the labels that are here today. I get it. I've never heard the birder label before, so that's that is something, right? So, how does the word bliss land for you?
Well, when I was assigned the word, I was happy, which I guess could be a related word to bliss, but I guess when you say how did it land, it's kind of funny because it doesn't really feel like it lands. It's kind of more buoyant or uplifting.
Got it.
But it more floated. But I really was happy about this word. As a yoga teacher, we do use this word a lot, and I don't know when you want me to start kind of diving into what I think about it, but I was definitely happy to get this word.
No, I totally get that, and I think the reason why I don't want to say resisted it, but I don't use it as much, a type of thing, is because there's a part of me, and I don't know what it is, that believes that the state of bliss or bliss is a part of a psychotropic, tropic type of experience. So there has to be some drugs or some type of something to achieve that. And it's like, I want to be in a little bit more control than that. It's like, so it's like, I know that there is a level of I was going to say bliss or happiness or something, or just awareness that will give me access to that. Bliss will give me an access to that. But it feels like I want to be in control of, my awareness. I don't
Hmm.
know if that makes sense. Yeah.
Well, I feel like you totally brought up something I wasn't even going to talk about, but like, bam, I need to now. So I'm glad you said that. So I'm going to get real transparent right off the bat here.
Okay.
I do have experience with addiction, eating disorder, and substance abuse.
Hmm.
And I feel like there is this sense of like trying to find an escape or like just be out of your mind and find that bliss through those harmful activities.
Hmm.
But
Got it.
I feel there's actually a book called The Thirst for Wholeness. And anyone who struggles with any kind of addiction, um, even if it's something mild like, I don't know, caffeine or TV or something, I
Right.
feel like there's like a lot of negative stigma about addiction, but that book, The Thirst for Wholeness, helped me reframe what it is we're looking for when we're seeking through our addictive behaviors. And it it talked about it's really just a spiritual seeking, like just trying to find like a deeper meaning and maybe that sense of bliss. So I guess I stopped thinking about it as like a defect or a flaw, and was just like, well, maybe I'm just misguided in how I'm applying this. But,
Right.
and that really leads me back to yoga, which I am a yoga teacher, and being able to find similar states of bliss. And I know some people find it through like going to church or uh,
Right.
joining any type of like-minded community. I think those states of bliss are available to us without uh, toxic behaviors, so to speak.
Great. No, and I appreciate your sharing that, and I really feel, that level of control that I feel that I want to have is because I grew up in an environment where I saw people um, abusing substances,
Mm,
basically trying to escape a reality or something. So for me, my only um, uh, I guess understanding of achieving, bliss or this um, um, uh, this euphoric type of um, state of being was in a destructive way.
mm,
And so it's like, geez, if I need to, if I don't need to be destructive to get that, and not really understanding that there is there there is positive, there is not just positive, but there is healthier ways to achieve it, and there are um I don't know why I'm trying to find the words here, but I think there are there's a necessity for us to achieve bliss, right?
mm,
There is and I love the book that you mentioned, about wholeness, is that it's just our awareness of our wholeness and our completeness causes us to really seek that understanding versus all the other things that are, I guess, denying that understanding from us.
yeah, that's really beautiful.
Mm,
I like how you
mm,
said that. I think when I was given this word, something that kept coming up is the difference between reaching for, I don't know, I feel like with happiness, well, we kind of mentioned this right before the show, but there's connotations around words. No word means one thing, and that's why you have these shows. But I guess in general, the word happiness to me lately kind of implies like a seeking or a reaching, or like I need to get happy or I need to find how to be
great.
happy. So it's always like this nod to something external. But I feel like with bliss, I immediately think of internal. And I love that you pulled the card, no one is youer than you, because it just means that like everything you need is in you. Just
Right.
be you. You just have to be you, and that's
Right.
how you find that bliss.
Yeah, it's like what just came up for me is like the blissful nature of myself, right? Whatever that is. I have no idea what that is, but
Mm,
it just came to my head. But it is like the more that I am willing to acknowledge that I am myself, I am I am complete, I am purpose, and it just really causes me to just not just be okay with that, but have a level of enjoyment in that. And I think in some cases, that's what bliss feels like for me, is that enjoyment of um, your. I don't know. I don't know if it's just your state of being, or just of being yourself.
yeah,
And it feels like for me sometimes there is so many things that come up in my life that causes me to forget that. you know,
yeah,
you,
yeah.
you
Bliss
know,
is kind of a remembering.
right. Yeah. It's like, wow, that's my word. Remember is my word of the year.
Yeah,
And
I have words of the year too.
right. And it was, and it was kind of interesting because I immediately felt that it was a remembering,
Mm,
putting myself back together. Is really embracing the wholeness of myself. And the more that I sit with that and talk about that and share that this is my word, and this is what I want to explore, there's a smile on my face.
mm,
It's like welcome home, right? It's
yeah,
like, yeah, let's kind of come back together. And I think that because of our society and a lot of things that are happening in life, right? As a part of life, it's not life, but it's a part of our life. We we feel that we understand. Okay, this is a download right now, so it
okay,
means
go
that
for it.
it just came to my head. I have no idea what it means, but I'm just going to say it anyway. So it might make no sense, but we feel that bliss is important. There's a knowing in us that bliss is important. And because of our current situation or the current things that we're aware of, we can't achieve it. So we do destructive things to get to bliss, even if it's destructively, right? Because there's a knowing that it is important. And so the more that we can look for the alternative or natural, or the are have this remembrance of who we are without all of the other substances that will cause something else, we can achieve the bliss that we know that's important to us.
Yeah, yeah. That kind of brings me to COVID and
Mm.
just okay. I don't know where to start really. So, but I think a lot of um, individual problems or
Okay.
struggles are definitely reflections of societal ills,
Hmm.
and I think a lot of the times when we think like we are broken individually or we're an addict or something, like we kind of blame ourselves and put a lot of the spotlight on us being bad or wrong.
Right.
I really come around to thinking just about like, okay, well, what in the whole pattern and the paradigms of society right now maybe are fostering this, and not to say
Hmm.
like it's the world's fault, but
Right.
uh, what I'm getting at is kind of back to COVID, just kind of in a collective sense. I feel like if we want to look at the bright sides of it, which I happen to think there are quite a few,
Right.
um, it's uh, it's a worldwide reminder that we do have this one thing in common, and we have more in common than just that. But we have something in common. This is like the perfect opportunity to band together, to simplify, to slow
Right.
down, to, okay, a lot of people are out of work, but finding like their creative passions again and finding what lights them
Right.
up inside. And
Right.
I guess what I'm getting at you just kind of reminded me of like remembering, and I don't know, I feel like there's a whole climate right now of like encouraging us to remember and to come back to, you mentioned the word nature, which is another one of my favorite words to explore.
Great.
Just come back
It's
to that.
and I think I'm with you because I fear that in this great lesson, in this moment that we're in, that we're at a crossroads, and there is, we can do something amazing or nothing, right? you know,
I can
you
use
know,
both.
right? And because it feels like to me that there are too many of us that are upset that their life was disrupted or they were awakened to how we're living,
Yeah.
versus looking at, hey, now that I'm awakened to this, here's a possibility, here's an opportunity. And so within that, how can we really be there for each other, right? And recognize that, hey, we have been given a gift here, to kind of get off of this hamster wheel and kind of create something new and exciting. And there was a conversation that I had in August on community. And one of my guests, Rebecca, said something about, she was talking about capitalism, in saying that it's designed not to encourage community. And I was like,
Yeah.
whoa, what?
Yeah.
And it's like, because there's all these other mechanisms within our society, within that society, that will basically stand in the gap for being kind to each other and being there for each other,
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
all,
I agree with that.
and I was like, holy crap, right? And I'm just like, uh-oh, right? And so like I said, I totally get what we're saying, is that quickly, we will quickly put it on ourselves when things go wrong. The first place because in some cases we're told, it's like, hey, look at yourself. If you have a problem, it's, look in the mirror. And I get that on some level, but there are some things that we're dealing with that have nothing to do with us. It's like, unintended circumstances, or something that we created that no one thought that, yeah, this might be bad for, for us.
I think about boxes a lot, like being boxed in. And I just think our society is like a master at building boxes around like our roles and just like what we're supposed to do and what our values are supposed to be. And if you think about, again, back to nature, there's nothing sharp or square about it. It's all about cycles and curves and connection. And I always think about, like indigenous people. I think about Native Americans a lot. And you can think about, they've been boxed in and they've lost a lot of their community and their ceremony and their traditions, and they have some of the biggest like addiction problems we see. So again, that kind of calls back to like collective community loss, is kind of feeling some of the richness and natural or bliss mind,
right,
consciousness.
Yeah, it's like I keep on coming back to, we know there's a part of us that there is an awareness that bliss is important. This is something that it's for our benefit. But we've lost that. We've lost that awareness, or there are things that we have put into place to keep us from being aware of that.
Yeah.
It is just, it's, I mentioned to you before in the converse, in the pre-conversation, is that there is, there are words that, I say that are more, feminine than, have a feminine energy than masculine, and that, well, I can't use those words because I'm masculine and I have to show up as masculine, and I think that just mindset um, is causing me to um, deny myself of an understanding or appreciation. And so being able to incorporate bliss, words like bliss into my life, that's, I believe, is more of, our feminine energy, will cause me to, I guess, to show up, as they say, authentically, or more authentically, when I embrace that.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess I'll go back to what we did talk about in the pre-show, but when you mentioned this idea of masculine and feminine in the context of bliss, I had on my own thought about today being Labor Day, and I looked it up a little bit just to see what the deal is, but it's just basically a celebration of like the American worker and industrialization, maybe capitalism.
Right.
And I feel like all those things do have a very masculine tone to them, just like straight line, driven,
Right.
get it done,
Right.
individual. So I thought it was kind of cool because I agree that bliss is kind of opposite of that in a way. And
Right.
it's more allowing, it's more remembering, it's a little more like let it in, strip it down.
Right.
Yeah, so I thought that was kind of a cool word to counter maybe the
Right.
hard-headedness of Labor Day.
It's really, I'm fascinated about the, one, when I pick a word, and when the words show up, right? And it's
Yeah.
like the content, it's like, huh, wow, I would have never thought, it's like things like that I can't plan, right?
Yeah.
It's like, okay, I'm going to have a counter word to labor, right? It's like,
Right.
what could I possibly think of? I would probably still be thinking about that,
Yeah, but I
if
think you are that shows that you are pretty in touch with like just an allowing and a letting synchronicities and moments of grace, I like to say, happen.
Right.
Like I think if you were too forced and pushy about it,
Right.
you wouldn't even hear those things when they did rise up. So
Right. Wow. No, I appreciate that. I have been, I've used words like, oh, I pick words randomly, and, there's no rhyme or reasons and all that other kind of stuff. And I had a friend tell me, she was like, just say you use your intuition. That's okay. Right. It's like,
Yep.
people will still love you. Right. Right.
Yeah.
It's like,
And
so
I
it's like,
honestly I love this idea that like masculine and feminine is being talked about a lot in my life anyway. I don't even think of it as like men and women. I
right.
think we're just needing to reach a new level of consciousness where men do embrace their surrendering and their community and their connection and their sensitivity, and women maybe do rise up and be a little more leaders. And I just feel like everyone is a spectrum of both things, and it's really cool when we can stop making rules about what you have to be.
Yeah, and it goes back to the completeness of our lives, right? And it is, complete, for me, and I did a show last season, about the word complete. It's like most of the times that it would land with me that it's the end of something, right? And so it's like, I'm complete. I completed the test. I complete, there's this completeness, meaning the end. And, within that conversation, I was able to understand, I guess, the fullness of it, the completeness of,
Yeah.
and it's like, the more that we embrace the fullness of who we are, that Dr. Seuss reminds us of, the more that we can show up in any and every conversation and situation and things, and too often when I try to manipulate is the word that keeps on coming up. And I was like, God,
Mhm.
I can think of a better word than that. And it's like, no, that's what we do. We
That
try to
covers it.
manipulate, right? You try to
It's there.
manipulate it, right? And then we lose our bliss. We lose the feminine, that knowing, that flowing of our life, that aspect of who we are. And it just, I think it causes suffering, it, and so the more that we, um, eliminate or reduce the amount of suffering that we cause for ourselves, right? I mean, there's a lot of other people that, try to put suffering on each other. But if we just reduce the suffering that we personally do,
Yeah.
our life would be so much better.
Yeah. So something I've been thinking about throughout this conversation, a mentor of mine, his name's Tom Yalmans. He studies like psychology, but he's big on like or how does he say it? Kind of the individual versus the collective, and how related they are, and how basically you can change the whole world by changing yourself. And
Right.
he says, I almost lost it. It's there. It's there. Okay. He says a lot of people feel like they have to find their purpose, and then they will find joy, bliss, happiness, whatever you want to call it.
Right.
But he believes, and I will agree with him, that we find our bliss first. So find what makes you like lose time? What makes you stop thinking so hard? What makes you just like be present in the moment and like just feel like in yourself?
Right.
And if you do those things, if you commit to doing those things and not making them just a tiny margin of your life, or I don't have time for that, or I can't, if you commit to doing those things, following your bliss, as they say, then your purpose will become clear. It's not like you have to figure out what you're here for. You just figure out what makes you feel that, and then
Right. Yeah, I totally get that, and I think that's the card my I am card of I am purpose.
Yeah.
That was something that, when I first wrote it down, I was like, huh, do I believe that? Do I understand that? Because we are so conditioned to like find our purpose,
Yeah.
right? Like,
That did cause me a lot of suffering. I went to college for 10 years, and I have 2 associate's degrees and a bachelor's degree, none of which I was decided about, passionate about. Like I kept going for things that people said are smart to go for, or I
right.
don't know, what's a good thing to do, or I just need to finish something. And it was all about like finding my purpose and living up to something that I
Right.
didn't even connect with, I guess.
Right. And I think the more that we, um I'll speak for myself, because sometimes when I speak for other people, they write in and say, you don't understand, right? Right. So, um but um but the more that I recognize and embrace that I am purpose, I will show up differently.
Yeah.
There is everything that I'm doing, is purpose. Everything that I have, it's like, this show. I don't know how long I'm going to be doing this show. I have shows up until, the second week in November, and I'm excited about, and I'm planning on doing this, as we say, forever, right?
Yeah.
But we know, I've also embraced that this is this is not it, for me, but this is part of me finding my voice and finding my bliss and finding all the things that excite me and kind of that I want to be in. And I'm okay with, this ending at some point, or this not being at this point. And I don't say that often, because it's like, whoa, wait a second, what do you mean? This is great. Why would you want to end this? And I think, because I know that the more that I, um, or willing to journey to understand myself or appreciate myself or get an awareness of myself that causes me to love myself, everything is possible.
Yeah.
And so it's so I don't have to put all my eggs in this show or this business or this all that other kind of stuff. It's just something, a
Yeah.
part of my complete life, and I'm okay with that. And I think that's a level of of bliss that that I think it's available, that sometimes we kind of lose because we want to have bliss take us somewhere so we don't have to deal. You know, we
Yeah.
can live in a place of bliss and happiness and all those other things that come along with it, and smiles, and just try something new, and there doesn't have to be a struggle within it.
Yeah. So things are flowing well because you've led me to the one quote that I would like to read.
Okay.
Because you talk about the form of things kind of being open to change.
Hmm.
And I did look up one. It's not a definition of the word bliss, but it kind of is because in yoga, the Sanskrit word for it is ananda.
Okay.
And I looked up ananda, and the one I really liked was a joy that changes and dances itself in many ways to enthrall your mind and keep your attention occupied and interested forever.
Hmm. Yeah.
So yeah, the form can change, but it's just like what keeps you, what keeps that spark in you.
Right. Right. It's wow. It's like I want to sit with that a little more.
Yeah, I
No, I
know
really.
it's a good one. It's a good one.
It's like,
Yeah.
the podcaster label is like, you're still alive. You still need the same. You still. We're not sitting here.
Hey, comfortable silences are great, but I don't know
Right.
about the
So yeah, it's like it's amazing when some of the other labels kind of like tell you what you need to be doing right now, right?
Mhm.
It's like, but and it's like, and then the one thing that I have embraced, that then I have a choice. Then I have a choice to be myself,
Mhm.
or allow that label, right, to kind of dictate, okay, you're right, I need to be still talking or anything like
Yeah.
that. But or do both. And so yeah, this is great. I think sometimes on Mondays, I don't know, it's like any day. I was going to say Mondays are reflective day. See what I want to do, see what I didn't do last week, and try to clean up everything.
Mhm.
But like any day is like that for me, right? It's
Yeah.
like I just wake up and it goes, all right, we need to look at some things.
Yeah.
But the one thing that this conversation has caused for me is just this awareness that bliss is important, um, and there are healthy ways to achieve it, to
Yeah.
stay in it, to be aware of it. And the more that that is the journey, that is the work, to find myself when I'm when I feel that I'm not in that awareness of my bliss, that there is ways for me to get there, and I don't need to escape my reality. I just need to invite bliss to my reality.
Yeah. That's so important because I feel like when people hear words like bliss or happiness, or it brings me back to like meditation. I feel like people think there has to be this sustained state of just like feeling really good. And
Right.
that's not being human. It's not realistic.
Right.
But I think it's deeper than that. It's deeper than surface emotions. And like in the context of meditating, you're not going to be
Right.
able to just sit there with no thoughts and be like this ball of light. Like
Right.
maybe you can, but I can't.
Okay.
But the bliss or the purpose of it, I guess, is to just be able to sit with it, to be able to
Right.
like feel that you are a human, you're here, you have a body, you have thoughts,
Right.
you have something deeper than all that too. and just, I guess for me, bliss is just like a trust and a sitting with
Right.
that you're all right, even if you don't feel like super happy today.
Right.
There's just like a level of trust underneath.
Great. No, I totally get that. The one thing that just came up, it's like, sometimes when you're like, you're happy, you don't know why you're happy, you're smiling. It's like, you know what? I need to stop being happy right now because this is like getting annoying, right? I don't know. I've been there. It's like, all right, all right. There's too much craziness in the world. I need to get grounded and kind of, do that. But there is a way that how I can be okay with. I mean, and I think sometimes we talked about Corona and COVID-19, or the two names of this, is that there were some points within this pandemic where I was feeling pretty good. It's like, hey, yeah, this is I'm doing this show. I'm pretty excited. I'm not stressed out, and I was talking to friends, and they were like stressing out and all that kind of stuff. And I started feeling guilty. It's like, oh,
Yeah,
crap.
I
Okay.
feel that a
And then
lot.
right. And then you kind of hide and go, it's like, how you doing? Oh, I'm okay. I'm not,
Yeah,
try, it's like, what, you got to lie about,
yeah, it's a
how,
hard spot to be in because I feel the same way. Like people complain about like streets being empty and malls being closed and just all these different things, and I'm in my head like, well, it's empty, but it's like quiet and more peaceful, and the shops are closed, but we can spend more time in nature in the park. Like I have like a retort for everything, but I kind of keep it
right,
in my head because I don't want to be like, oh, your feelings aren't valid. But no.
right. And, right. And I think the one thing that I got for myself, and I try, instead of hiding, from that, is just, you know, I am this way. I have this awareness of myself so I can be of help to other people. And it's
Mhm.
not,
Yeah.
it's not to say, hey, I'm happy and you're not, get happy, right? It
Hmm.
is, you know, having space for them to kind of understand and say, hey, why does that upset you? Or what is, what's going on? What are you afraid of? And things like that. And the more that we're able to hold space for them, the more that it gives them space,
Yeah.
to find bliss, find other things other than fear and
Yeah.
disappointment.
Yeah. And well, I guess I do kind of keep a little more quiet with my verbal conversations. I will say that through my blog and my Instagram especially, I've been speaking out a little more about my perspective and hoping that, I don't know, there's something about just putting something in writing that's a little more passive, I guess. It's a little less
Right,
like in your face, and hopefully someone reads it and digests it and maybe
right.
starts to feel a little lighter about things.
I have many of those saying something without saying something posts. It's like, okay, somebody's gonna get this, right? Yeah,
Subliminal.
so so because look, I think the one thing about the short time that we've known each other, which has been what 40 minutes, right? So
Feels like forever.
um, right, it's there is I feel like we're similar in the way how we relate to people, and that that we care about. We don't want to see people suffering. We don't want to see people in fear and all that other kind of stuff, and we want to be available to them and help them through something without being bossy or knowing all or self-righteous. And I mean, look,
Mhm.
there's an awareness that I have that um I think it's helpful, and I hope it's helpful to you, and and all that, and I do find joy in it. But I'm not going to say this is the only way that you can
Yeah.
achieve this level, of bliss or happiness and all that other kind of stuff, because then it just um what I feel that we get into this template mentality, right? Just like just kind of like, okay, I'm successful in doing this. This is how it is, and just this cookie cutter, and everybody does this, and it's like it's not working for me. Well, it's not
Back to
working for
those
you,
boxes.
right? Because it's not you.
Yeah.
And just go from there. You know what? I really believe that we could talk about this for hours, but
Yep.
uh,
I agree.
I think because there is, I don't want to say I was concerned, but there is a level of bliss or an understanding of bliss within this conversation that's causing me to just kind of it sounds like, because I think it's been diminished, but be okay with
Mm,
where I am.
yeah.
And I think the more that I'm accept the reality of how I'm feeling or what's showing up for me, then it gives me access to bliss. Then it gives me access to happiness and all that other kind of stuff. And I think this conversation has helped me just be okay. And in that calmness, it's like, hey, hello, bliss, right? you know?
My cousin, Melissa Price, who you've interviewed
Right.
3
Oh,
times now, I think. She,
right. She's resident guest, right?
yeah, she once told me that from her point of view, talking to me felt like melting into her feet.
Right.
So like
Wow.
keeping her like grounded and calm. And I was like, if other people feel like that when they talk to me, that's a win. Because I'm like, that's awesome. I want people to just settle into who they are, forget all that noise, and just be okay.
Right. Oh, I mean, Melissa is great. And I'm just trying to get that image and to be that for someone, and to share with someone that's what they are to you. It's just an amazing
Yeah,
gift.
it was huge when
Um,
she said it. It stuck with me.
and so, well, that's Melissa. That's the little that I know of Melissa. I was like, yeah, that's great. So I put up your blog,
Thank
and
you.
so the thing from there, so people can connect with you that way, and also your Instagram is available. Is there anything that you want to leave everybody with, or that you got from this conversation that you want to share?
I guess I'll leave it with my one voice inside is being like, this is too self-centered, but I'm going with it.
Go with
um,
it.
so with my blog and with my Instagram, I feel like I'm sharing my bliss finally. Like
Hmm.
I'm combining a lot of things that I previously put into little boxes, like this is my hobby over here, and I can be this thing over here in small increments, but this is who I am. I'm a writer, I'm a nature lover and birder, I'm a yoga teacher, and I also do a lot with like not to get too deep into this because this is a whole other topic, but tracking my monthly cycle and just like all the little patterns and trends that come with that.
Great.
But whether it's tracking my cycle, being aware of the birds and their migrations of the seasons around me, or being aware of like my cycle of breath or my cycle of thoughts in yoga,
Hmm.
I feel like just having that awareness of how the internal, the external is connected, how everything's in a circle in a cycle, and how everything is it just is. Like that's
Hmm.
how I find my bliss, and I hope if people do follow those pages, they can get a little taste of that too.
Well, wonderful. No, I definitely appreciate that. The one thing that I got crystal clear is your desire to share your bliss.
For sure.
And it's not just for you, it's for all of us.
Yeah, just kind of a
And
reminder that it's not a the word I'm thinking of starts with an F. Like I don't know, can't think of it, but it's like a light-hearted, like doesn't really matter that much. It's not that.
right,
It's everything. So just
right.
a reminder
It's
that it's
everything.
important. Yeah.
It's everything. Thank you very much.
Thank
Um,
you. Thank you for having me.
Oh no, this has been great. We will say our goodbyes in the green room if you're able to say. But this has been wonderful. Blessings.
Thank you.
Okay. Oh wow. I I I need to stop saying this. When I first started the show, I would just go, "Oh, I'm so excited about this show. This is going to be so amazing," right? Type of thing. And I was like, "Okay, every show can't be amazing. Stop it." But what is coming up for me, that because I come to these conversations without expectations, but I come with intentions. I set the intentions for the conversations, but I don't come with expectations. There is always something to find. And um, that bliss is something not for us to just achieve, but to share. It's available for us to just share it with each other. And there's a healthy way to achieve bliss. Um, yeah. Um, we all know about many of the unhealthy ways or destructive ways or toxic ways. But the awareness that bliss is important, bliss is essential and necessary, will cause us to really be there for ourselves and be there for other people. That's what I'm getting out of this conversation. And I'm sure there is more. I hope this conversation has been valuable to you, not just for your day, but for your life. If you want to reach out to me at IamWilliamBrown.com, we can have a complimentary coaching session, and we can talk more about bliss or talk about any other things that are showing up in your life. Because the world wants you, the world needs you, and the world is waiting for you. So go be you. Have a great day, and I'll see you tomorrow on One Word Conversations.